senior counselor, and this is Katie Martyr, who deals with freshmen. And then we have Chris Lauterbach, sophomore, somewhere. We're having some technical difficulties, but thank you for coming. We are going to have a jam-packed night, so we're going to get started since we're already late. But Lisa Haywisher, she's going to start with the Barnes Trust, just a little overview, and then she'll be sitting out here so you guys can stop by after we're finished. Okay. Okay, so just so that you know, if you have a senior in high school who's about to go to college, we have a fund in Sydney, Shelby County, to loan money to students to go to college. It's one of the best kept secrets. It's called the Rayford E. Barnes Student Loan Program. Rayford E. Barnes was the name of a woman who lived here in Sydney. She and her husband, Daniel Barnes, they never had any children. She was a school teacher, he was a judge, and they left their estate aside in a trust at the law firm of Elsa Wallace and Evans. And what they do is they make loans to students to go to college, as long as you are a Shelby County resident or live in a Shelby County school district. I don't want you to leave here tonight thinking you would never get approved, because it's not a big approval process. The only time they ever turn anyone down is if you don't really have a good financial plan. You can't borrow $30,000 every year to go to college and then come out being a teacher and make $35,000. So that's the only time there's any kind of issues. So I just want to go over a little bit of what the criteria is. My name is Lisa Haywisher. I live here in Sydney. Everything is local. Our trust is at the law firm of Elsa Wallace and Evans, downtown Sydney. You need to have a 2.6 grade point average for high school to qualify for our program. The student must be a full-time student in college to qualify for the program. The maximum amount that we loan is $4,000 per year for 4 years. So your student could borrow $16,000 over a 4-year time period. We do have a little bit of a need formula in there, so you may get approved for only $3,000. So it just depends on when we get all your paperwork as to whether you would get approved for 3 or 4. But we very seldom ever turn anyone down. So don't leave here thinking that you don't qualify, because almost everyone qualifies for our loan. The best part about it, too, is there's no interest charged on the loan. Again, no interest charged on the loan until 6 months after graduation or your student leaves school. So it's interest-free the entire time. The rate on the loan is 7%, and it's been 7% since the 80s when it started. They've never changed that over the years. And I did some research on it. If you do a Parent Plus loan, like you borrow money through the government, their rate is 7.08 this year. So the other government loans that you can borrow, the maximum for a freshman is $5,500. If school costs $25,000 or above, that doesn't go very far. So what we're trying to do is fill in the gap of extra money that may be needed. The money goes directly to the student. So if you get approved for $4,000, we'll send you half of that money for the first semester, half for the second money. It comes directly to you at your home. It does not go through the university or college. So you get to decide how it's going to be spent. The repayment on it is based on a 10-year payback, or you can pay it off quicker. There's no prepayment penalty, no any kind of charges. We don't charge an upfront fee. If we say we're going to make you a loan for $4,000, you're going to receive $4,000. There are no fees involved. Minimum repayment is $50. We also have a deferment process too. Let's say that your student is going to go on to graduate school or professional college after they receive their undergrad degree. They can also do a deferment for a maximum of 3 years after that, which is interest-free. Again, you may have our money loaned to you for 7 or 8 years with no interest ever charged on it until 6 months after graduation. Application deadline is March 31st. I have application packets with me. You can send your application in tomorrow if you want. Please do not wait until the deadline, because it's first come, first served. If we run out of money, your student may be turned away for that year. Last year, the last 2 or 3 years, we've loaned out over $1 million in the county. So So I'm also an administrator for Anna, who had their financial aid meeting a couple weeks ago. I've already gotten 3 applications from them. So the sooner we get your application, we'll date stamp it and we'll reserve a spot for you. We don't care if you have any of the other documentation. The first thing it asks on the application is whether you know what school you're going to. If you don't know, that's okay. Just fill in what you do know, sign it, and send it in to me. I do have packets with return envelopes. So even if you're not sure you're going to go to college or you're not sure how much it's going to cost or how much money you're going to need, send the application in anyways, because you can always decline it later. If you say that you don't want it or you don't need it, that's fine. The FAFSA is required, so you're probably going to be talking about that tonight, how to do that. It doesn't have to come with the application. You can send all that information to us later. But what we will eventually need is your transcript, your FAFSA, and your letter from your school that talks about what your financial aid package is with them. Because we do have you fill out a budget. So in my application packet, there's a budget that talks about what school is going to cost and how we're going to pay for it every year. So as a parent, you might want to sit down with your student and say, here's what our tuition is, here's what room and board is, here's some of our other expenses, and go over that with them. How much money are you going to have to borrow? How much are you going to have in scholarships? Do you get any kind of aid or grants? And then try to budget what you think you're going to need. It should not be a mystery to your child what college is going to cost. They should know that, because I think it's very important for them to get an idea of what it is going to cost and how much that education costs for them. Let's see. I will be coming, after the applications come in, which the deadline is March 31st, I will come and make an appointment at the school and have a small interview with the student. So you really only last about 10 or 15 minutes. We're just going to talk about your college goals. It's very informal. Go over your budget. That is part of our program, too, is to figure out if you have enough money to pay for college. And after that, I will present it to the trustees, and then they'll get back with us as far as how much you're approved for, and then you'll sign loan papers at my house. So everything's very casual. It's all local, so you don't have to worry about calling an 800 number. This trust is in Sydney, Ohio. It's one of the best kept secrets. Right now I'm working on second generation kids, so some of the parents that are coming in had our loan in the 80s when they went to college. So that part's kind of fun. But it is a very good program. Again, I can't stress enough, apply even if you're not sure you need it, because you can always say no later. So, does anybody have any questions about our program? Okay, I will be outside. I'll have application packets. If anybody wants to come back to the table and talk about their individual situation, I'll be glad to help with that. Thank you.
And we'll make sure that we put the application on our website, so that way in case you lose it or forget or what did we talk about, we'll make sure we put it on our counseling website, and I'll have it posted for everybody. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we just want to briefly touch on Ohio graduation. I think when I'm scanning, I'm still trying to learn names and faces. Most of you, how many are seniors out here? A lot of you. So I'm just a little worried too. The state keeps changing graduation requirements, so we just kind of wanted to go over a little bit and the classes beyond this coming graduation year. So we're just kind of not read it to you, but kind of go through it fast because I know we started late. So for the seniors for 2020 and then beyond are the following. You guys, obviously, I've been hitting up senior classrooms and junior classrooms, telling them 21 credits from here to graduate, 18 end of course exam points. And that's the easiest way to earn a graduation, in my opinion, but sometimes that's not everyone's case. So you can either do industry credential, which I've spoken to a lot of our students about that, and go more in depth. Or if you have an ACT score, English is 18, math is 22. And like you said, these are temporary. I know last year when I was at Fairlawn, they changed graduation in December. And we know we graduate in May. So again, this is all new to us. brand new, so that's why we're kind of making awareness to parents. It's also on our website, because I'm going through this really fast. So if there are other, if you didn't make those requirements, there are alternative pathways and that we're talking about for the next classes. You want to hit on sophomores?
Yeah, I'm going to use the microphone because I've been talking all day. So the class of 2020 are seniors. You have the old graduation requirements. Those are the 18 credits, or the 21 credits, the 18 points, and we have alternative pathways if we're not making points on the test. For the classes of 21, 22, you have a little bit more options in terms of some of those temporary pathways go away, but you still have the original 3 pathways, the 21 credits, and the 18 points. And you have the option of the new 2023 graduation requirements. So the freshmen starting this year, your requirements are totally different from everyone else's. And starting with the class of 2023, those are the options for that class on. The good thing is that the seniors, juniors, and sophomores this year, if we need to, we can also use the class of 2023 grad requirements. And these requirements change a little bit in some ways. Some of it's still being figured out because the state's a little slow in determining what they want to do. So there's 3 parts to the 2023 grad requirements. The first is still pretty basic. Sydney requires 21 credits to graduate. So you got to take your classes. That's our normal kind of breakdown. We have our 4 English, 4 math, the 3 science, 3 social studies. We like to have the fine arts, the PE, the health, and then you have about 6 electives, breaking it down. The next part is kind of a one or the other. So they will still have the end-of-course exams. The English 9 end-of-course exam, which was one of the 7, is now gone. You don't have to give it class of 2023 on. So if you're a freshman, you lucked out. You don't have to take that test anymore. Everyone else has to take all the exams, and then the freshmen take the remaining 6 exams. So you have your English 10, your algebra, your geometry, though geometry may go away, they're not sure yet, your biology, your American government, and your U.S. history and your course exams. But instead of having to get 18 points among all your exams, they've changed it. You have to take them all, but you only have to get a competency score on 2 of them, the algebra and the English 10. I would like to say, oh, here's the score. Of course, they haven't set the competency score yet. They're supposed to set it by March 1st. I'm imagining it's going to be probably the old range for the old measures, probably about a 3, which was mid-range for a score. But they haven't set those scores yet, so we don't know. But it does change it where you don't have to get points on all the exams. You just have to do really well on those 2, and then you take the other ones because they offer some options as well. If you don't get those competency scores, there's 3 options to cover you in case you don't get the competency scores on those 2 exams. One is you can sign up to join the military. Military enlistment shows you're ready to graduate. If you prove that you have signed up senior year to go in, that covers it. The other one is you take College Credit Plus classes in the subject where you're having trouble getting the score. So let's say you're having trouble in English 10. If you take a College Credit Plus in English and you pass it with a grade that they set, then it counts as you got the competency score. And then the third way is you get the career readiness. And this is kind of like the old 2020 grad requirements where you have to do the industry credential plus some work exams to satisfy that. Typically, though, we're hoping everyone will just take the test and get 2 competency scores on the 2 exams that we need. So you have your 21 credits, your tests, and then there's the third part, which they've created a variety of seals. Not the ones that bounce, balls on their noses at SeaWorld, but seals like you stamp on a diploma. There's 12 of them, and they cover a variety of different topics. Some of them have not been set yet, just like the competency scores, but they are looking at a variety of different areas. So here's 6 of them that are set. You can get the Ohio Means Jobs Readiness Seal, where you're showing that you're career ready in a variety of environments and you have mentors that sign off on you showing those skills. You have your seal of biliteracy, where you're doing high achievement in foreign languages. Your college ready seal, which is similar to the old requirement where you're getting your ACT remediation free scores. Those scores are the same as they are now, the 18 and 22. The science seal, and this is why you're taking the biology and the course exam, because that can count if you get a high enough score. You can also accomplish it here through your CCP course if you take a CCP science. Honors diploma will count as a seal, so our students that go for one of the many honors diplomas, that will count. Your citizenship, that's looking at your scores on your U.S. history and government exams, similar to the science, but just different exams. And then these aren't set yet. So the military enlistment seal is not so much that you're going to join the military, but that you're showing that you are ready for the military for their enlistment requirements. Those aren't set yet by the state. The technology seal is also kind of up to the districts a little bit, what technology courses we are going to count for a high achievement to satisfy that you got that seal. And then the industry recognized. So this is going to be, these exist now, but they're not sure which ones they're going to count, but these are you're following certain pathways and earn the points in the industry recognized credential to satisfy that. And then these are 3 community seals that the schools are setting where the district determines what we want them to be. So you have your engagement with how involved you are in sports, clubs, activities. You have your fine and performing arts, which is usually high levels of performance art, either in portfolios that you produce or shows that you put on. And then you have your last one, which is your community service, where you do your volunteer projects and get out in the community and do a lot of good work. So what happens is the new 2023, you have your 21 credits, you take your exams, and you have to get the competency scores in 2 places, or you have to do one of those kind of 3 or options, where you join the military, get the industry recognized credential, or you're taking the CCP courses. And then you have to get 2 of these seals. The hope here at Sydney is we're redesigning our course guides and some of our pathways for our courses to where a lot of these seals will be accomplished through your years here at the high school, so that when you get to senior year, you already have them done, hopefully. So we're not struggling at the end trying to get these seals done.
And again, if you have questions, because we went over that super fast, it's on our website. Obviously, us 3 can help your student determine which best fit. I will say my seniors that maybe do not have their points, which I've talked to them about, will be retesting sometime in December, and we'll let those students know, send a letter home, because we really want to try again to see if they can make those 18 points. So that way we don't have to determine an alternative pathway. It's just a little bit easier. So I know we'll retest sometime in December, and we'll get that information out to you soon. And then next we have Chris.
We are adding a lot of new things real fast. Mr. Snyder, can you bring up our website, please? Did it go away? So if you go to the Sydney District page and then you select the high school, and under the quick links on the left, there's a new link to our Sydney High School Counseling Department. This went active about 2 weeks ago. Most of the students have been shown it, notified of it, kind of told it exists. This is designed as one-stop shopping for anything in high school. If you need a form, if you need information about virtually anything you can find, from scholarships to CCP, College Credit Plus. If you need UVCC information, if you want career information, test prep, signing up for the ACT, virtually anything you could want, it can be found on this website. The other thing we've done is that through the website, through QR codes throughout the building that kids can scan with their cell phones, through email links, they can get to us very easily and set up appointments to see us so we can help them very easy to get to us, to form meetings when we need to get things done. So if they're telling you they can't see the counselors or they never see us or they can't get a hold of us, that's not true. Because there's about 12 different ways to do it at this point, and all of them are pretty fast and easy. Okay?
All right, awesome, thank you. Next we have Christina Radelman from Edison that we partner College Credit Plus with. In addition, since I know a lot of you raised your hand for being seniors, talking about life after if you choose to go to Edison and some of the things that are great that are up and coming with her. So she's going to talk briefly.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening. So it's wonderful to be here at Sydney High School, Edison State. We have a wonderful partnership with them. I did have a PowerPoint, but I don't know with the technical difficulties if we'll be able to. Did you think you can get it? Okay. If we can't, then I can run on the fly. So thank you. But it is wonderful to be here. I am the Shelby County rep for Edison State, so I go to all the Shelby County schools. I go to the schools about once a month, except for Sydney High, who are, of course, the biggest school in the county, so I come here every week. So it definitely feels like home away from home for me, because I'm here every Wednesday. So I just want everyone to remember that I'm a resource here, and I'm here every Wednesday at Sydney High School. They relocated my office. For the past couple years, I had been directly in the guidance office, so I've had some kiddos confused looking for me in the guidance office. So just kind of announcing that my office is just around the corner from guidance. So I'm actually in A111, I believe is the office number, and it's just around the corner. And if you don't know where it is or can't find it, you can visit guidance, and they'll show you the way. So tonight, I was told, that students will, of course, want to know the steps for CCP and wanting to help students understand that process. But again, I do want to get a little bit of a gauge for, again, the audience. How many, again, are seniors? Raise your hand. You had said it a little bit earlier. Okay, seniors. How many of you are juniors? Juniors. Okay, represent. All right, there's a couple of you. All right, in the house. Okay, what about sophomores? All right, there's a few. Okay. And then freshmen. All right, look at that. See, there's some freshman love in here too. Okay, that's great. So I can talk about College Credit Plus. There's quite a few seniors, but I can, nice, I'm playing. That's good, thank you. But I want to be able to make sure who my audience was in terms of gaining some information. So in terms of College Credit Plus, we can start out, we'll go to the next slide if we could. Thank you. And this works for seniors as well. Let me get a gauge for this. For my juniors and seniors and sophomores in the room, how many of you are doing College Credit Plus currently? Anyone raise their hands? Okay. And then there's others, who are not. All right, this gives me, again, another good feel. So overall for Edison State, this is us at a glance. We opened in 1973. We have about 4,000 or so students, all right? And we actually opened 2 new campuses, so it's kind of hard to see on the bottom. It says regional campuses. Greenville, Eaton, and Troy. So our newest campuses are in Eaton and Troy, but our main campus is in Piqua, all right? And the main campus for you all is right here in Sydney High School, because indeed we have so many classes that we offer at Sydney High, all right? Which is a really exciting opportunity for you in terms of you don't even have to leave Sydney High School to be taking college classes, all right? So that's kind of the beauty of College Credit Plus is you get to get high school credit and college credit at the same time, all right? And so what I really try to impress upon students kind of starting out and talking about the program is that this is a really big deal because we need you to understand that you are indeed starting a college transcript, all right? Because sometimes it's a little easy. You're taking these classes at Sydney High School, and you can say, oh, well, it's just another high school class, and it's a little more challenging, but it's actually legitimately a college class, right? Like, we have our deans certify your teachers to basically be professors and teach these classes, right? So I always kind of want to, impress that upon the students in terms of how serious to take these classes. You want to take all of your classes so seriously, get A's and B's in all of them, right? And rock your GPA. But we just want to make sure that you understand that you're starting your college transcript. Because I've heard some students in the hallways at various schools say, oh, well, I'm not doing so hot in my CCP classes, but whatever. All my other classes at the high school, non-CCP, it's all going to be balanced out. My GPA is going to be awesome. It'll just totally fine. It'll balance out. I'm like, well, wait a second. Maybe it'll balance out with your high school GPA, where it counts your non-CCP classes with your CCP classes. But for your Edison State transcript, that's all your GPA is. Just your college college credit plus classes. So again, it's really, really important that it's taken a big step for these legitimate college classes, okay? So, so I just kind of want to press upon that. When it comes to Edison State, though, we do have various pathways. So at the bottom, we have the Associate of Arts degree and the Associate of Science degrees. And this is what we refer to as our transfer degrees. So when I meet College Credit Plus students, there's plenty of students, they come to me and they say, I just want to get, Bickle's awesome. He's an awesome teacher, Mr. Bickle. So I'll give him a little love, a little shout out tonight, all right? You can tell Bickle I said that. He's in here. But Bickle's a great guy, and he's a great teacher. And people are like, it's a history class. I need it to graduate Sydney High School. Why don't I get college credit? That's why I want to do it. Okay, that's fine. And then there's other students who I meet, and they say, I know I want to get a bachelor's degree later on. And so that's my goal, whether it's in engineering or whether it's in business, whatever it may be. And they say, Ms. Ratterman, Christina, can you help me? So what kind of classes go with helping me get that kind of degree down the line? And I say, great. Well, that's what we do at a community college, is we have a whole bunch of general education classes set up so that you can, get a 2-year degree, general education courses, and then those transfer to a 4-year school, right? So for us, again, those are the transfer degrees, the AA and the AS. So if a student is an Associate of Science degree, that's them wanting to get a bachelor's down the line in anything in the mathematics or sciences area, right? Science, it's in the name. So you've got engineering folks, you've got biology, if you want to be a doctor. Business falls under this one because there's a lot of math in business, crunching numbers. So that falls into that one. And then for the AA, the Associate of Arts, that's like if you want something in this like psychology, philosophy, history realm, more of the humanities, okay? Education, though education can technically fall under both. So I share that with you because I do meet students who are interested in that. Okay, and so they meet with me with that, and then we get a game plan for these general ed courses. We have a whole list on our website, and I'll be talking about that shortly, on our website, in which they are guaranteed to transfer to a 4-year school. Again, the classes that are right here live in Sydney High School, English Composition 1, history, political science, which is the national government course, communication, public speaking. All of those are guaranteed to transfer to any public Ohio college or university. So Ohio State, Bowling Green, Wright State. So this is exciting stuff. We just can't guarantee the transfer to privates or out of states. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. We have students who transfer these courses all the time to Bluffton and different things like that, but because they're privates and they're out of state, we're a state school, so that's why we can guarantee from a state to another state in the state of Ohio, okay? So that's kind of how that one works. If you don't mind going back to that other slide, I'm a quick talker, but I'm still on that slide. On the flip side, we have, then if you don't mind going backing up a little bit to the pretty boxes for me one more time, thank you, look at that. So the pretty little boxes at the top. So the bottom is transfer degrees, but at the top we have other pathways that are career. How many people in this room, just to help wake you up, how many people have had dinner yet? Has anyone had dinner? Okay, all right, well, good for you. The other people, man, I'm in the middle of them and dinner, and between them and dinner, that's not good. So, just want to check in on you, try to wake you up. I want to get a gauge from the audience too. How many people know Mike Rowe, the Dirty Jobs guy? Do you know Mike Rowe? All right. So, Mike Rowe is a big believer in this top row, all right, and the career pathways, because we have business, engineering, manufacturing, health sciences, information technology, social public services. These are basically umbrellas of different programs that we have that you can get 2-year degrees and then just get a job. So I want to speak to the room here because sometimes people just see me as the CCP woman, CCP Edison lady. I don't know if I want to talk to her because she's all about College Credit Plus, and that's not true. I'm just about education, Edison State, opportunities, college, helping give you awareness and helping guide you if you want to do, because not everyone has to do CCP, and there's students who, they knock on the door, they're a little nervous. I don't think, they're a junior. I don't want to do CCP, but what about doing Edison after I graduate Sydney High School? I'm like, great. I'm there to talk to you about that and what your opportunities are. So when it comes to these career programs and the Mike Rowe idea, is you can get a job in health sciences. We have a 2-year nursing program. So go to school for 2 years at Edison State, graduate, bam, you're a registered nurse. Okay? And then you get to make registered nursing money. And then oftentimes, say you work for Wilson Health or something, local. Then oftentimes, your employer, wherever it may be, another doctor's office, another hospital somewhere, will pay for your schooling to go back to school if you want to for the next 2 years to get your bachelor's degree. We have other programs, engineering, manufacturing. Honda's not too far away, right? There's a really big plant in Anna, right? We have a great partnership with them to where you can go to school at Edison State and work for Honda part-time and then graduate, and you are guaranteed guaranteed a job making $55,000 a year working for Honda with just a 2-year degree. And there's plenty of those other things. Police officer, if you're wanting to be a police officer, we have a peace officer academy that we have. And then again, business degrees, other health science examples, medical lab technician. Has anyone ever heard of that? Medical lab technician. Those are the folks who analyze specimens. Sometimes we're sick. We need to give certain samples to the doctor, right? Urine samples, bowel movement samples. People are like, oh man. So the professor of that program, actually, I love to tell students, her name is Vicki Kerr. She's a very sweet lady, and this will bring the principal's attention. He's like, did she just say this up front in front of families? And I'm going to. Our professor likes to say she's the poop department, because she plays with poop all the time with her students. So they play with poop, and they burn urine, and they do all these crazy things. And it's a 2-year program because it's a very important job, because how these folks analyze these specimens, it gives the doctors the results, right? And how to diagnose their patients of what's wrong with them, or maybe how they can, improve what treatment they need. So 2-year degree, working and playing with poop, you could be earning $52,000 a year. And these are local in-demand jobs in which our department gets calls saying, do you have any recent graduates? So what I want to share is I meet tons of different kinds of students who have some have a total game plan. I'm going to be a veterinarian, so I want to do the transfer pathway. I want to get as much done at Sydney High School that I can, in terms of my gen eds, to transfer out, get that bachelor's, go on, I mean, those kind of type A personalities have it all set from when they're a freshman, all right? And I'll help them on their game plan. Some of those actually last year I worked with. I'll throw out some names, I'll do some name dropping. If anyone knew, Christian Townsend, David Jones, do anyone know any of those folks? So there's plenty of folks that I worked with in which they actually graduated Sydney High School with their associate's degree. So they walked the high school ceremony and then our ceremony because that's the kind of opportunity they got at Sydney High School. So much they were able to do on campus, some they did online, some classes they came in person, right, to our campus as well. And then they were able to get that degree. I never push students for that. It's a very small set of students because my number one goal is, what's your pathway? What would you like to do as a career? Help you with that. And then make sure you're a successful student. So if I've had students look at me and they say, I want to take X amount of classes, and I look at them, and then I get their counselor kind of in the door and say, hey, well, same here, because we want to make sure you're not overwhelmed. I want to make sure you're getting the grades for being successful, right? Because that's all of our goals, is to make sure you're successful, okay? But then on the flip side, I have other students just kind of, oh my goodness, Ms. Ratterman, you're telling me I can do college credit plus at Sydney, you're asking me what career I want, I have no idea what I want to do. And they're starting to get some anxiety, and I say, well, great, you're an explorer then. There are 30-year-olds who don't know what they want to do, 40-year-olds who don't know what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And I ask, well, how old are you? And they say, well, I'm 16, so I'm 16. So I say, well, that's fine. We can totally, help you, and that's what College Credit Plus does. Think about the kinds of things that you want to do. And if you're thinking about business, take a business class. And then if you like art, take an art class. And maybe between those two and some advising, you might want to be a graphic design major. That's part of the point of CCP, is to help you decide what you want to do. So real quick, I do want to make sure we go over these steps, in which if you open these programs that they handed you over here, then on the inside page, on the left-hand side, then there's 4 simple steps to this program, okay? So the first step is to apply online, all right? And everything you do at that red bar, at the bottom of these boxes, it tells you edisonohio.edu/ccp. That's the site that you go to make it happen. So the first step is to apply online. It takes 5 minutes, it's free, it's easy, it doesn't commit you to anything, it's just the first step. The second step is to qualify. So this is state law. If you could look on the box for me on the right-hand side, the bottom part inside the brochure, state law says you need to be college ready, right? You're trying to take college classes, so you need to be college ready. So you have our test, which is the AccuPlacer. It's untimed, okay, which is different than the ACT. It's an untimed test, and you just have to take reading and math, totally untimed. And what's nice is, at Sydney High, we're going to be doing on January 29th, I'm going to be testing here at Sydney High School. So all you have to do is sign up with your guidance office to take our test. And again, it's free, untimed, you take the test, and you just need to pass 1 in order to be deemed college level ready to be accepted to the program. And then we have the ACT requirements on the right. So if you have an 18 in English, or 22 in the reading, or 22 in the math, great. All you need is one of those to be accepted to the program, because you do have to have program acceptance, okay? So just know it's either ACT or AccuPlacer. But the second thing you need to know is course eligibility. Because if you take the AccuPlacer in January at Sydney High, and you pass the math, but not the reading, you could be accepted to the program because you passed the math, but you need to be eligible for courses. So history here and English composition, you need to be reading level ready. So I may tell you, awesome, you passed math, you're accepted to CCP, but then you're limited in the types of classes you can take. So there's always course prerequisites. And I have students look at me all the time going, oh, prerequisites, what does that mean? You can't take English Comp 2 without taking English Comp 1, right? That's kind of the basic one. There are certain prerequisites for certain classes. Connor Nuss knows it. He's like looking at me like, oh, Christina, I've met with you so many times. So, and then third is, of course, register for classes. And you cannot do this without guidance counselor approval. Because all those things about SEALs and this step and that step and what Sydney recommends, then it's important to know that, that we leave it up to the counselor to ensure that you're going to be graduating on time. Okay, so we can help you in everything that we can do, but we need the guidance counselor's signature on any registration. And then fourth is to attend information about Edison State through our orientation, get you set up as a student. All right, so again, I'm here every Wednesday. They're giving me the time signal a couple minutes ago, so I definitely have to wrap it up. But it's great meeting with you. Again, I'm Christina Ratterman, and excited to meet with you anytime. And so happy to see you. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Christina. And she's here every Wednesday, but she'll be out in the hall too if you need to stop by and have any questions for her. I know many of you are seniors here from our poll at the beginning, and we do have a speaker here to speak with you about Fasfa. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. We can get his slideshow put up there. And I'll hand the mic off.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Engel. I am a financial aid advisor at Baruch State College of Lima. Today, I will be talking to you about the FAFSA. So, has anybody ever done the FAFSA before for you or a student? Okay, that's a good thing. So, for everybody else that has not, basically, going to go over a few things. So, what we will be talking about is what is financial aid, for one thing, the different types of aid, cost dependence, a few things, some of the terminology that you'll hear from time to time, and then ultimately go over the FAFSA itself. So, the first thing is, what is financial aid? So basically, financial aid is assistance for you to go to college. There's many types of financial aid. So there's many types of financial aid and different sources. So right there's all the sources comes from the federal government is the largest of the financial aid, but you can also get it from states, colleges, private sources, and then employers as well. So the state aid, so if anybody is going to school in Ohio, there is a lot of programs for financial aid. These are just a few of those. The Choose Ohio First is for anybody in any of the STEM programs, and the STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And then there's different loan programs as well. And the scholarship tool, the one there, second to last one, through Ohio Means Jobs, that is a very good one as well. That shows probably about 150 different scholarships. It's specific to each school, specific to the program you study as well. And it does give you a lot of deadlines on that. Excuse me. So the first thing, federal grants. So when you do the FAFSA, you're applying basically for the federal grant. And the Pell Grant is the largest of the federal grants. Currently, it is $6,195 is the maximum for the Pell Grant. And that amount is based on being full-time. Full-time typically is 12 credit hours or more. So as long as you go full-time for both the fall and spring semesters, 4 quarters, fall, spring, winter quarters, you would be eligible for the $6,195 or any amount up to that. Can be applied in the summer as well. So depending on what school you go to, sometimes the summer is what they call an ender. That is the last term of the aid year. So if you use all that Pell amount within the first 2 or 3 terms, could be eligible if you go in the summer as well. The other is the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. That one is kind of a need-based, strictly high need-based. I think the maximum award on that for this year is $4,000. That is kind of dependent on the number of recipients, how many people are eligible per school. Every school is allotted a certain amount in the SDOG grant. The Pell Grant is basically, if you're eligible for it, everybody will receive that. Federal work study is also a type of financial aid, and what that is basically getting a job on campus. Every school has an allotment of federal work study funds that they can award to students. So you can get it from anything from being a tutor to working in maintenance, an office assistant, anything like that as a student worker. On the FAFSA, there is a question that does ask if you're interested in work study, and if you check that, then they can set aside some funds for you. This is federal dollars that they would pay you, so they can set that aside for you. It does come in as a form of paycheck, so it is kind of nice. So whatever the pay schedule is for each school, could be every week, every 2 weeks, possibly every month. They will pay you as a paycheck. You can use that towards your education or just whatever you want to use that for. The other scholarships, this is kind of interesting with scholarships because every school is going to have different deadlines. A lot of schools right now are offering scholarships for next year. So if you have a school in mind or a couple of schools in mind, definitely check on their financial aid website or their main website. Apply for the scholarships now. A lot of them will be awarded in the springtime as well. Scholarships can vary in any amount. They come either directly from the school or they can come from outside donors. Different places that you can look for as well, especially if you are current seniors graduating. Newspapers are a good source. Check with your school counselors as well. They may have a list of different scholarships that are available. Civic organizations and local businesses will sometimes offer scholarships. Parents, check with your employers. There's from time to time they'll offer different scholarships for your dependent students, so you can always check on that. Scholarship searches online. There's plenty of scholarships, and you can get a scholarship for almost anything, from being left-handed to blue eyes, brown hair. You find a scholarship. Most of them are legitimate. However, there are time to time that some of them may not be. If you have any questions on any of those, just contact the financial aid department. Doesn't have to be one that you're looking at, but they can always kind of help you with that. Apply early, apply often. Deadlines, like I said, kind of rotate. With schools, they're about a year out. Most of the deadlines with like private scholarships are about 2 to 3 months out. So like November deadlines for the spring term coming up. So next year, if you're looking at fall, probably around July 1st would be the deadline for scholarships with that. Federal direct loans. So if you don't qualify for any grant scholarships, there's always a student loan option. The student loans come directly from the Department of Education, so they are called federal direct loans. They are both the loan servicer and the lender, so you're going to be borrowing money from the Department of Education, and then when you get into the repayment process, you're going to repay to the department as well. The student is the borrower, so parents don't have to worry. Your name will not be anywhere on the loan, maybe a master promissory note, but that doesn't mean that you're tied to the loan. So it comes directly to the student. The amounts can vary from depending on how many credit hours you have in, if you're considered a first year, second year student. While you're in school, they are an in-school deferment option. So as long as you're maintaining at least 6 credit hours per semester or per term, then they are in-school deferment, meaning that you don't make any payments on the student loans. Another good thing with them is they do have a grace period. So once you either fall below 6 credit hours or once you graduate, there is a 6-month grace period before you actually begin repayment on these student loans. And the other thing, different repayment plans as well. There currently is about 10 to 12 different repayment plans. So the standard is a 10-year, and they can be extended out to about 25 to 30 years. But just be aware that if you do choose those options, the interest does accumulate the entire time, so it could potentially double the amount of the student loan that you did borrow. But there's plenty of different deferment and cancellation provisions along with federal loans. So if once you get into repayment, unfortunately you end up losing a job, things like that, then there is the option to get those either put into a forbearance where you don't make payments, or some certain sectors there is a public service loan forgiveness. If you work in certain sectors of like with the government, nonprofits, if you still have a loan balance after 10 years, that can be forgiven. So the federal program does have a lot of good things that go along with it. Currently, $5,500 is the maximum amount that a student can borrow for the first year. That does go up for your second year to $6,500. That is a combination of subsidized and unsubsidized loans. The difference between the two, subsidized loans are basically an interest-free loan while you're in school. So the government pays that interest while you maintain at least a half-time status. Can get up to $3,500 strictly subsidized for your first year, $4,500 for your second year, and it does go up to, I believe, $5,500 for your third year. Could be a combination of subsidized and unsubsidized, could be strictly unsubsidized, just kind of depends. Subsidized is a form of a need-based, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. Currently, the interest rate on that is a 4.53% on both of those. It doesn't change from year to year, so we'll know probably in February of next year what the interest rates are going to be. The trend follows, should go up slightly, but it shouldn't be too much, so we'll kind of see what goes on from there. There is Parent Plus loans as well. So if you need more than the $5,500 for your student, the parent can borrow a loan as well. This would be in the parent's name, so they can borrow up to the cost of attendance per year. It does require a credit check, so you would have to, when you do the application, it will do a credit check on you. If you're approved, then you can get up to the cost of attendance. If for whatever reason you're denied credit, the student still can receive up to $4,000 in additional unsubsidized loans. So that's kind of a nice thing on that as well. And the current interest rate on that is 7.08. Again, it's tied to the markets as well, so we'll find out probably mid-February on those. And then there's your yearly loan limits. So as a freshman, you get $5,500, $6,500 sophomore, $7,500 as a junior or senior. And then if you're considered an independent student, basically anybody that's under 24, not married, doesn't have children is considered a dependent. However, if the parent is denied the plus loan, they can get the independent status in the loans. So when you see different things, you hear schools talk about a cost of attendance. I know that term gets thrown around quite a bit. What is the cost of attendance? So basically it's an estimation of all the costs that are associated with you going to school during a certain time frame. And typically that time frame is going to be the fall and spring terms, or fall, winter, and spring. So it's an estimate of not only the tuition fees, room and board, and your books, but also they throw in housing, different miscellaneous, or transportation, and different miscellaneous and personal expenses. So if you would look at and take all your bills and look at what you're paying for that 9-month time frame, that is where they come up with the cost of attendance. The expected family contribution, well, that's going to come from your FAFSA. So when you submit the FAFSA, it will give you this EFC number. And what that means is basically what is the government reasonably expecting you to pay towards your education. And this is coming off a combination of the student's income, if they worked, as well as the parent's income. And then it's also taking into consideration the number in the household, as well as the number in college. So they come up with this formula and give you this EFC number. And from that, basically, with the need-based and non-need-based aid, two things you'll hear as well. Need-based is if you have a financial need. The subsidized loans, Pell Grant, certain scholarships are a form of need-based. Unsubsidized and other scholarships are the non-need-based aid. So when we're looking at calculating what is your financial need, schools will take that cost of attendance, subtract the EFC from that, and then that gives you the financial need. So potentially eligible for either Pell Grant, certain scholarships, or the subsidized loan. If you have a very high income, relatively high EFC, then you may not be eligible for any need-based aid. So it would come in the form of the non-need-based, such as some of the scholarships, or strictly an unsubsidized loan. Now the FAFSA is completed every year, so that is one thing that you have to do every year, and it does open up October 1st. So the one that just opened up October 1st is for 2020-2021 aid year. Typically that starts, it says after July 1st, but it kind of varies. Some schools will use a summer term as the start of their aid year, others will use fall. So if you're unsure if you're taking summer classes, just check with whatever school to see which FAFSA it will be on. Typically with the fall, that will be under the new one. So you can complete the FAFSA for the 2021 aid year right now. And it does go back, it's called a prior year as far as taxes are concerned. So you will be using 2018 tax information. The reason they did this, most schools had deadlines in February for their financial aid, so you'd have to get your FAFSA in by typically February 15th. It was kind of difficult at that time because a lot of people had not filed their taxes, so they pushed the deadline or pushed the application date up to October 1st. so that opens it up. But since you haven't filed, the aid year hasn't, or the tax year hasn't been completed yet, so the most verifiable information would be technically your prior year, so that is why they're going off 2018 information when you do the FAFSA. A couple of different ways to do the FAFSA. You can do it directly on the computer, FAFSA on the web. When you log into it, it's FAFSA, fafsa.ed.gov is the website. So once you log into that, this will be the first thing you see. If you have completed a FAFSA before, you can log in, otherwise just start a new FAFSA. And one of the good things with this is, and I believe this was rolled out this year, you can do it as the parent or the student. Typically, the first thing you would do is log in as the student and then complete the FAFSA that way. This way, if you don't have the student handy and you want to get the FAFSA completed, just click on I am the parent. It will ask for the student information, so you can put all that in there as well. But you can go as the parent, so just kind of be aware of that information as well. Another way to do it is on a mobile device. So the My Student Aid app is available. That was rolled out not this year, but the prior year. So it does make it kind of handy. You just download the app onto your iPhone, iPad, and then you can do it that way. It is very nice. It kind of mirrors the FAFSA on the web. Gives you about 5 questions per page, so you don't have to scroll down and scroll up, kind of miss questions, because unfortunately there are a lot of missed questions. But definitely you can do it in that way as well. And you can save your progress as well, so you don't have to worry about if your phone dies on you, you have to start all over. It does periodically save that information. First thing that is needed, so if you've never done a FAFSA before, you, the student, will need an FSA ID. This is going to act as your electronic signature, so it kind of replaces the password and PIN number. So you're going to create a user ID. Parents will need a FSA ID as well, so at least one parent. You'll go to the studentaid.gov/FSA ID to create it. There is directly on the when you do the FAFSA as well, there is a link to do the FSA ID, so you don't have to go somewhere else, but you'll do that. Will be separate email addresses, just one thing, so if the student does not have an email address, they need to create one. It cannot be tied to their parent's email address, so we just have to have separate phone numbers as well. When you do the FAFSA, you start doing that. The main things that we're going to be looking at, the Social Security number, so you'll put that in for the student as well as the parents. Citizenship, marital status. There is a question on drug conviction. If you've ever been convicted of sale or possession, unfortunately you would not be eligible. Selective service. Every male that is 18 or older must register with selective service to be eligible for financial aid. You can register 30 days prior to your 18th birthday. You also have the option on the FAFSA to go ahead and register, so if you have not done that, they can do that for you. And then we'll ask for the highest education level completed by parents. Some schools will offer financial aid based on those questions, some will not, so just try to be accurate on that as well. As far as when you enter the non-personal information, we're going to look at taxes, income, and other financial information. So that is where the EFC numbers come in. The taxes, a lot of people get confused with like their actual refund. So they'll put the refund amount on there. That is different than what the taxes are paid. So if you have any questions on that, it does give you a step-by-step in what line to look for. So it will say, what is your adjusted gross income, line 37 and 1040. So it just kind of depends on what type of tax return that you filed, but it does give you that information. Kind of makes it easy as well. Dislocated worker status and assets, you want to put all that information in as well. One good thing with the FAFSA is there is a data retrieval tool. And what that does is import the information directly onto your FAFSA, so you don't have to worry about typing in the numbers, possibly putting in too many zeros, not enough zeros. It links it directly to the IRS, imports that information. It's good to do that, so if you are eligible to do that, Typically, if you're not eligible, it's because you filed a separate tax return, got married, filed separate, or if you did an amendment, but I believe the amendment now can be linked to this as well. But if you can use it, definitely do it because it does cut down on paperwork that the financial aid offices may ask for. There is a process called verification. Basically, we have to verify income, household information, number in college, things like that. So if you're selected for verification, you did not use data retrieval, schools will ask for your taxes, so you have to provide that. If you do the data retrieval, then we know that information is accurate, so we don't have to ask for that information. Additional information, now you can't put up to 10 different schools on the FAFSA, so if you have multiple schools that you're looking at, definitely put all of those on there so they will be notified. Housing plans, it will ask if you're going to be living on campus, off campus, or with parents, so definitely want to answer that as well because there will be different budget types regarding that. And the FAFSA preparer, that doesn't happen too often. Basically, it will ask if you are the preparer. Always answer no. What that means is kind of like if you're doing your taxes, you have somebody do that for you. That would be the preparer. If you're doing it yourself, then you're technically the preparer. So just answer no to that. Signatures are required, and like I said, the FSA ID is your electronic signature, so it's going to ask for that. So the student will have to provide that, and at least one parent will have to provide that as well. If for whatever reason, the FSA IDs are very touchy, sometimes you have to change your password after a year, and the passwords are becoming more difficult. I believe it's 12 characters with a special character and a number. So if you forget to write that down, forget what your password is, you get locked out of it. You do have other options to sign your FAFSA. There is an electronic or a paper signature form. Just fill that out, turn that in as well. Now we do understand that because we are using 2018 tax information, that certain things happen. So there is called what is called a special circumstance that we can look and go back and review. So if for whatever reason, say a parent lost a job, get divorced, death in the family, we can go back and review that information. We will just ask for some documentation, a letter from either the student or the parent or both, just kind of explaining the circumstance, what was going on. Then we'll review that, and we can do what's called a professional judgment. If we deem that whatever reason caused a reduction in income, then we will make that adjustment. So it could be to your benefit as well. So if you do lose a job, definitely notify the school. Or if there's a reduction in income, non-voluntary reduction, I should say. If you quit your job, typically they're not going to look at that, but they can reduce that income and potentially get you eligible for maybe subsidized loans or with the Pell Grant. Cannot be appealed, so basically the decision's final. So if you're denied, unfortunately that would go into effect for that year. Possibly you'd have to redo it for the next year. And then there's some of the examples of what would qualify for a special circumstance. Like I said, typically it's if a parent or even the student loses a job. That's kind of the main thing, but there's also the other factors as well. Frequent errors on the FAFSA. Social Security number is the biggest one. Sometimes those numbers get transposed. They forget the numbers, just kind of throw them in there, either with the student or with the parent. That's number one. And number two is actually going to be the untaxed income and the household size. Those kind of follow closely. But just make sure it does ask you, it is kind of nice now, especially with the household, because it does calculate that for you for the most part. So you're going to count yourself as one, and then the parents, and that'll be determined through the marital status, and then you can add in any other siblings on that. Real estate and investment net worth. If you have a 529, technically you are required to put that on the FAFSA. That is considered as an asset. Different things as well. Any investment income, if you have like the rental properties, things like that, or a business, that is, they will ask for that information as well. So try to be as accurate as you can And the main reason is because we want to get you the best package as possible, but we also understand things happen with these untaxed income. Unfortunately, that does kind of affect. But just like I said, financial aid is not required to ask for all this information. So if you don't put it down, kind of a trick here is we're not going to say, hey, give me your bank statement. So, but just kind of be as honest as possible when you're completing the FAFSA. So once the FAFSA is completed, you're given a student aid report. This will come either through email or through the regular direct mail. Basically, it is kind of a snapshot of everything that you put on the FAFSA. So if there is a discrepancy or any errors, once you get the student aid report, you can fill that out, turn that back in. But if there is an error, you can also contact financial aid. They can do everything for you. They'll just ask you for the information, and then they'll get that turned in and submitted as well. The award notification, so this is kind of like a shopping sheet as well. So if you apply to multiple schools, they will give you this award notification. So it's going to show all the financial aid that you're eligible for. It's going to show Pell Grants, student loans, any scholarships that are on there. Biggest thing to look at is if you are looking at a private school and a public school, and it's very close in the award packages, and you're kind of leaning more towards the private schools, contact the financial aid department, see if they can maybe throw a few more scholarship dollars in there for you. That is one of the nice things about a private school. They have that leverage to throw in that money. But definitely want to look at that, see who's giving you the best award package, and then kind of make your decision from there. Consider the federal loans before private loans. So hopefully you don't have to borrow as much. But if you do have to go the student loan route, definitely want to go with the federal option, just because they do have a lot of provisions that are nice. Private loans do have higher interest rates, and sometimes the repayment on that usually begins somewhere about 60 days after the term ends. Never decline aid that you don't understand. So if you're looking at that award letter and you see something on there and you're not real sure what it is, don't decline it. Just contact financial aid. They'll explain that to you. Could be some scholarships have some funky names to them. So just contact financial aid, and they can explain everything on there for you. And like I said, 2020, 2021 FAFSA is now open. Definitely want to get that done. There are deadlines associated with the FAFSA. Most of your four-year schools are going to have some of the February deadlines, so you want to get that in. I do know there was a few schools that have a December deadline as well. So if you haven't done the FAFSA for next year, definitely want to get that done as soon as you can. Is there any questions? Perfect. Oh, yes. Every school is going to be different. So a lot of the major universities are going to be anywhere from December to February. If you're looking at a two-year school, they can accept FAFSAs pretty much any time. They don't have quite the funds like some of the other schools. So just contact whatever school you're looking at and see if they have any deadlines on that. Anything else? Perfect. Thank you.
All right, I know that was a lot tonight. I want to thank you all for coming, and we did have one of our TV production students record all of this tonight, so we will be putting this all on our website. And if you have any questions, we're here to help. And I know there's still colleges and military workforce, UVCC out in the hallway. So go ahead, visit and mingle, ask any questions that you might have. But thank you all for coming. Have a good rest of your night.
Okay. Did you try to?
I didn't know this. You find out.
There is a as well. wouldn't know if you guys would be able to
I'm sorry.
I'm
gonna turn it off. Chris.
And then they can send you information for reset. So, yeah, there's different ways. If you can't get, oh, sorry, thank you. If you can't get them done, you can send that in and get it reset.
Linda just said that we can keep it here.